Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with my boys PD and Cal. Hey, we're talking about the new development. It is Wonder Man. Wonder Man coming to TV. Are we even interested? Hey, I bring it to my boys PD and Cal. Say what's up, guys.
What up?
So PD, what's your take on this whole Wonder Man thing? Okay, this is a good thing. Is it a bad thing, or what the goony goo goo is going on? Tell us.
Um, I don't know. I think they're just trying to turn this into sort of a wacky series, right? So I think in the comic, I guess, the longest running series that he had, he was kind of a superhero in Hollywood. I think he had some background being a stuntman, but he was kind of gaining some high, spotlight in this Wonder Man series. But I think it was Gerard Jones and Jeff Johnson, right? So they had this thing was kind of not jokey, not full on Keith Giffen humor, but had kind of a light quality to it. But ultimately, in the comics, he was a character who, was pushed to become a villain by Zemo and a bunch of other Masters of Evil, and then he defeats the Avengers by tricking them, and then he, dies heroically to save them. And then at some point, I think it's Jim Shooter. He decides that they're going to bring him back, but he's going to have this new hook that he is possibly one of the strongest characters in the Marvel universe, maybe over Thor and or the Hulk. But he has this since he died. He had this feeling of he's scared of dying again. So there's parts where he gets hurt and he kind of flinches and whatnot. So he has this aspect. He had one thing during the Shooter run where he's talking with Thor about um, Vision having his brain patterns, and he's like saying, "Wait, why would like what about what I didn't have anything to say about that." And then there's subsequently forgotten up until much later in the West Coast Avengers, but he's going through this thing where I think it's ultimately because he had a science background when he first introduced, but then they turned him into since I guess they really wasn't looking that far back that he would be a stuntman that him and the Beast they were kind of the fun sort of part of the Marvel the Avengers team. So he kind of went to that sort of aspect of his character, and I don't know that they found a good place for him in the team. He just was kind of the guy who was there until Shooter kind of pushed him out because he left basically walking out with Hercules talking like they're just going to hang out and have fun, right? So it's not a character that's really people have figured out yet. So, because I'm pretty sure there probably was a storyline after this, but there was a future storyline that Peter David did where he was kind of training, Wonder Man was training a young superhero, but it was kind of it was another thing where he's in Hollywood again. So I think it's kind of lost that he had this science background. He had a failing in business because he was kind of similar to Tony Stark, but obviously not as good. And with this, I guess this ion energy, and then ultimately they used that, but it came with a curse of him dying. So there's a lot of stuff that's around there. That's why I point that out. So basically, it'd be like a Blade situation where they just make whatever they want. And I'm not sure for Wonder Man, who does at least have some time in the Avengers, the character that you should sort of rewrite. You can kind of do the Safari look, the Doc Savage look for him. You could do the superhero look for him, but he doesn't really have that much of a supporting cast, and he's not really a character that has that much. You got to tack on some personality to him because he was kind of to himself. You also have a character who there's something going on with the energy. You could see it in his eyes and around his eyelids. So that's something that you would he just look like a normal guy with his energy, or would they play up that? So it's a lot of questions, and then when you see sort of a comedy team kind of putting this thing together, and and the Shanghai filmmaker who kind of check the boxes type of person who's not really giving us any heavy sort of stuff with Shang-Chi. It gives me a lot to worry about. So that's all
So
I
what
got
about you,
for it.
Cal? What about you, Cal?
Hmm.
You give us a little background, like on Wonder Man. I mean,
How is Wonder Woman part of this?
Wonder Man.
Yeah, how is Wonder Man part of this?
They're doing a new series with him.
But what does that have to do with the Thunderbolts?
No, this is a news show, bro. What are you talking about? We moved on to Wonder Man.
Oh, yeah, I got nothing.
Wow.
What? Dude, what? We literally asked you, do you want to do Wonder Man? You're like, yeah.
Okay, well, if I must chime in, I don't understand the need to do Wonder Man unless they're really just scraping the bottom of the barrel. Wonder
Thank
Man
you.
is
Thank you.
Wonder
Thank you.
Man is like if it's even possible to be this, Wonder Man is like a fourth tier character. He's a role player. He has not successfully carried a series, and I don't understand the reason for this character other than that they just want somebody utilitarian so they can mold him in a particular way. We want this character to be the first something, and we're gonna make Wonder Man it. But aside of that, he doesn't have a fan base. He doesn't have supporting characters. I don't. I just don't understand the reason that Wonder Man rather gets is going to get promoted to his own series, television series that is.
I mean, it's interesting. I was reading something where they were saying that in the wiki profile, they were saying Stanley said in '78 that they bought out Wonder Man, right? And then DC sued them because they had Wonder Woman. So he's like, okay, I'll discontinue Wonder Man. And then all of a sudden they brought out Power Girl. He's like, this was after Marvel had introduced Power Man. They're like, all right, the gloves are off. We're going to do what we got to do. Basically
Yeah,
that's
that's how you. Yeah, that's how we got She-Hulk.
interesting. But it's funny that they did something like that. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. This guy, this character seems like seriously OP, man. He has all kinds of abilities, yet he doesn't seem to be able to. He was never one of the more popular characters, But you constantly, if you go into the Marvel archives and see the stories, he's in some of the big seminal stories that are around. But he's still just a bit player, and I don't think a lot of people gravitated to him. I think people thought more of Dreadnought than they thought of him. You know, Abomination came after him.
Wow. But
Well,
how,
they
I don't
tried
mean
to.
to diss. I'm not dissing the two or three Wonder Man fans out there, but let's just call it what we call it. All right.
Well, they tried to tie him to the Vision, but what they did with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's not going to be possible.
Exactly.
It reminds me of the Martian Manhunter. Well, the Martian Manhunter, I think, does have some like a good fan following, but the Martian Manhunter is not somebody who's successfully done anything on his own in his own series. He's a member of the Justice League of America. That's where you would definitely want to see him. You have guys who would love to see him in a series, but he's not that sort of character who can carry a series. Wonder Man is somebody you would definitely want to see on the Avengers, even if that was a possibility. But nobody's wanting this guy in the series.
Right. But I think this is what PD was actually saying is that you have two comedy writers or people who have comedy backgrounds, and so probably this is going to be like a lighthearted take on a superhero. A couple of years ago, they had this show. I forgot the name of it. It was a comedy where they were a bunch of workers and they worked in the DC universe, but these people actually lived within the DC
it
universe.
failed so
It
miserably.
was funny as heck.
It failed so miserably.
People didn't get, and I'm wondering if that may be the type of approach that they want to take with Wonder Man. I'm not sure, but making him a little bit more down to earth and trying to resurrect the character. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff. He was. I don't want to say negative things about the West Coast Avengers, but we all know it wasn't the strongest of the Avenger titles that came out. So
No, we go to the thing of initially, obviously there was a mini that did well, which Wonder Man, because the Avengers cast was getting pretty full at that point, and a lot of characters were getting moved out. But to utilize them in another space, they put them on the West Coast. They did the classic, do a mini series, right? So with the mini series, did well enough to do the regular series, and of course, it shows you that there was some interest in it. Is that what's the name? Jim Shooter took that from Roger Stern and gave it to Englehart, trying to give Englehart something since he'd already been the classic Avengers writer. Gave him the West Coast Avengers. Now it is definitely 80s Englehart, but at the same time, when the sales towards the end of his run went down, it went back up while Byrne was on it, and then of course when Byrne was off it, it started to tank again. So, but I think the approach that Walter Simonson and Byrne they were already when they were, because it was such a volatile period at Marvel, they were taking the approach, even though they were friendly. They was like, we're both doing the Avengers. So at that point, they were trying to level the playing field, whereas Englehart was trying to make a back and forth between the two teams, where they were kind of trying to top each other. And in that series, in Englehart series, he had the wacky Christmas colored outfit, which was green, like really playing up the green and red outfit sort of thing. It was a really bad one. He got the mullet during this period. And then
I thought that was no, I thought they did. Wasn't it red, black, and green? And the storyline was that Wonder Man was he was like what was it? Like a mulatto or something? You know, that type of thing. Wasn't that the story?
I don't know about that, but
Well,
yeah.
that's a better story. That's a better storyline than he ever had.
Basically, Englehart was trying to highlight all the characters, making them the best of the best. That Mockingbird was equal to Captain America in fighting. All of those, like, and Wonder Man was stronger than Iron Man, possibly stronger than the Hulk. All this, everybody was highlight in the series, but at the same time, the art, it's not the art, but the look of the costume and the look was really wacky. And so you sort of see, I think when Byrne came on there, they kind of trimmed it down, got rid of that. He had just black and red. They cut the mullet off and whatnot. Pretty much, but then they changed it again where he, I think they killed him towards the end of when it became Force Works or something like that. And then he comes back again in the Kurt Busiek, George Perez series. So, it's a character. At that point, they were kind of trying to figure it out. But at the same time, I think Kurt Busiek was going a different way where he was going to break up with Wanda. And I was just like, well, what's he going to do now? Like, he's like, this brought him back to the series with a little bit of more focus. And then now, with him not connected to Wanda and going back to Vision and Wanda, it's just like, well, he's going to be out the book now. Like, there's nothing, no one's going to remember him, which is what happened. So.
Yep, nobody will. Nobody will. I'm surprised that you remember all those things about that guy. Because I tell you, I think I probably remember reading one or two things and said, this guy is whack.
No, I mean, I liked him when he was in the Avengers. I liked when he showed up. I think who was it? Shooter was really trying to play up that he was the strongest guy in the Marvel Universe. He just didn't have the heart yet, which he was going to develop. And Perez was drawing it, so it was like the early one that Perez did was okay, and then because it was similar to his original costume, but then the Safari one was cool too. That's the one I remember when I first was reading the Avengers. I was just wondering when I looked at the new lineup, I was just like, why is he leaving? Like, what's he gonna do now? And it's like you got the one issue thing that nothing came of it, and he's gone. So it's like there's a lot of people in the Avengers that left that really didn't have anything going for them outside the Avengers. So it's kind of weird that Shooter would have these guys just on a whim kind of walk out of the team. So same with the Beast and whatnot. But I don't think the Beast was written kind of right. So my always story would be that I always wanted to do was because they always played up Wonder Man and Beast as like the ne'er-do-wells of the team, whereas the Beast had a science, like he used to speak in big words, had a science biochemist background. What's the name? Wonder Man had a science background with his business that failed. Always thought instead of them just going and finding chicks and waking up in all these other places, they actually were doing something scientific on their own that would come out. But I think it was Roger Stern did Avengers 2, which had the two of them in it. So it depends on if you can get that sort of dynamic of having, but then you really be playing up the Marvel Universe if you have him and the Beast in the series. So that's the one thing that people remember. So maybe if they can kind of do that, but then that makes it a Wonder Man. It's not a Wonder Man and Beast series. So who knows? It just seemed as Cal said, it just seemed like, hey, there's no reason to scrap the barrel because you want to do a series, do Nova. Just do Nova.
Well, not even have to do that. I mean, you have the X-Men that they're sitting on the bench. They have the Fantastic Four that's sitting on the bench. There's a lot
of trying to find TV stuff. That's not doing an X-Men series. They're more doing another New Mutants, but they already got Disney has their own sort of New Mutant stuff out there with their second generation princess thing and whatnot. So they already got the mutants.
I don't know if it was you or Cal said it, that Disney's just thrown everything up. You know, I'm trying to Marvel's just thrown everything up and seeing what sticks. I don't know. I was looking for the numbers of Kamala Khan, and the numbers have been averaging for the movies, the TV shows, like anywhere between 2 to 1.5 million viewers, and they're saying that Kamala Khan's is only like half of that, like 750,000. Even though it's like one of the top reviewed series, and you. So the question is, what data is Disney
What
looking?
reviews did you see that were good?
We're not talking about the reviews. We're going to that later. But I'm saying the key thing we're looking at here is Disney or Marvel is taking a look at different things, and they're saying, "Hey, we need to use this character to plug this hole, or this character to plug this
Okay,
hole."
I hear what you're saying. I want to stop you.
And that's and hold
Wait,
on,
wait. Let's go to Cal. What series would you want to see? Knowing the Marvel universe, what do
I
you
said
think
it
would
again. I
plug
want to
those
see what we
holes?
got. Marvels.
What are the but what are the holes? What are the perceived holes that need to be plugged? They
But they
have
need new
a,
series. What series would you put in if, say, they need another new series? Because they're not continuing any of these series they got. So, what other characters would you put out so they can just have a license? What would you see
oh
would
wait
be the
oh
next?
so okay, so what you're saying is that okay, these are going to be one shot series,
Yes,
6 episodes. We
yes,
don't look forward to it. Don't look forward to a season 2, and we're just doing
yes,
it so we can get these characters up.
yes,
We're just putting these guys out there. Oh,
yes.
then man, they're characters I would like to see, but I'm thinking of these as guys as ongoing series. I mean,
Hmm,
if you want to do something like
okay.
that, then why don't you do like Rage, from the Avengers? You could do him, or the New Warriors. You could do them. You could do any of the. Actually, you could do Speedball. You could do Night Thrasher. You could do any of those guys and just do that as a one shot, and you'd probably be more successful.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there.
Dude, I want an animated thing because Disney has what is it, some sort of animated superhero thing. It's like these two kids that are like they're heroes out in like Paris or something like that. It's kind of like Kim Possible, but both characters have powers. But the animation, I was like, they should do the animation with the real New Warriors, and then do like having like Night Thrasher like riding upside or like the side of a building, like do all the cool stuff you couldn't do in a movie with those characters with the new with the and what's it in Speedball, what you just mentioned. It's like something in animation, but yeah, it is kind of when you having to say that they're not doing any continuing series on these characters, and what is the point here? Just to like utilize the license for these things in film?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, look, it looks like the movie going more mainstream, and the TV shows are going a little bit more different. So I don't know. But hey,
I mean, the
let's
TV
wrap this.
shows are going to suck.
Well, I mean, so far they've been some of the top shows on streaming. Period. So
Oh,
we'll
you mean
see.
What proof do
no,
you
no,
have of
that's
that?
The
yeah,
ratings, they've been
that's
having ratings from Nielsen. They've had ratings from Samba. They've had some ratings from that we've
well,
seen. And they've said it.
Ms. I'm not. I haven't watched a single episode of Ms. Marvel,
I'm not talking about
but
this
I've
movie.
already.
Just overall.
No, Ms. Marvel. I'm using Ms. Marvel as my example. Okay, I haven't watched a single episode of Ms. Marvel, but I finally got to the point where the TV shows have been so inconsistent, and they had also seemed to be so deliberately insistent on not delivering anything that was representative of what these characters were from the comics. I just didn't have any faith in them anymore, and I said, I'm not watching this. I'm not a Ms. Marvel reader. I read a few issues of the first series, but I just said, look, I'm just not interested in this at all. So now I'm like, how many people did you have like me who went all the way through with Moon Knight and just said, you know what, I'm just not interested anymore. You guys aren't delivering anything that would actually make me want to be interested in this character, and you get the numbers that you have there in terms of a Ms. Marvel character. Because with the last series of Moon Knight, everybody who I spoke with who said that they enjoyed the series had never read the comic. They had no interest in Moon Knight. They were just watching it because it was it was on Disney Plus. It was a Marvel series, and they watched it and they said, "Oh, they loved it. It was great." I'm like, "Well, did you ever read any of the comics?" No, never read one of them. So I was like, "Okay, great. So if that's the audience that you're looking to pull in, wonderful." But eventually, the rubber does hit the road where you're not going to get enough of those guys to come in just based on that particular interest. That you do want to have some deliverables of this character based on what people have read. So I just thought the Ms. Marvel hit that particular Ms. Marvel hit that particular wall, and then of course she'll get the guys, the fanboys jumping up and down. See, we told you, we told you. But then then you want to pull, but then you're gonna go pull Wonder Man. you can imagine the numbers on that. But a lot of this I always thought stemmed from the fact that they got beat to the punch with Wonder Woman. DC beat them to the punch with Wonder Woman. They got the first female superhero out there. It was successful, and these guys are like, no, never again. We're getting all of our stuff out. All of our stuff out. We're gonna have the first, we're gonna have the first this hero, the first that hero, first this hero, that hero, and Wonder Man just looks like a hero that will suit that purpose. Where we can do a superhero show, we can make this guy into whatever category it is that we haven't done yet, and we go from there. Or unless they really decide to go Peacemaker with Wonder Man and try to do a lot of that like off-color humor and mix it with the Fall Guy as he's a stuntman, and then he opens the series singing a song. Well, I'm not the time to kiss and tell.
Right now.
Yeah, but you see, that's actually
a fan of. No, it's not great.
The actor that they're thinking, the actor they're thinking of using for the role,
Tarzan from a vine.
I love it. I love that show. I love that song.
I love the show. I don't want to see a redo of the same show.
Right. What I'm trying to say is the actor they're going to plan to use for Wonder Man is going to be Nathan Fillion. I like Nathan Fillion.
Is it still him after all these years?
That's what they're looking at. Probably an older version. Who knows? But that's interesting though. So I mean, the fact that it's going to have to be comedic to some point, is without a doubt. So the question is whether the audience is going to like it, or probably the whole thing is to bring in a more mature version of I don't know. I just don't know what they're doing, So until we see more plans, it's tough to really say. And Marvel has a plan, and they know what they're doing.
What's the plan?
Yeah, what's the plan?
I think they're trying to appeal to different audiences. Remember, the shows they make here in the U.S.
So you think
package itself.
So you think they have a plan, is what you're saying?
I'm saying, look, I don't want to say it, but the resume is in, and I've heard back some interesting comments. So I know what they're looking for.
I hope whatever you heard back has at least 6 figures behind it. Otherwise, we have no allegiance.
So all right, guys, let's wrap it up. So are we interested in seeing this Wonder Man show? Yes or no?
No.
I'm worried. I'm very worried.
Look, I give thumbs up for Nathan Fillion, but for the whole concept of the Wonder Man show, I don't know what I can say about that. It's like,
when I wind up in the hay, it's only hay. Hey.
As you can see, Kyle's going to leave us out with a song. Spin rack out.
Out.
I might jump in open strawberry or Tarzan from a vine, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that made Eastwood look so fine. Ooh. I'll be here all week.